Ça Marc-Oliver. Pas que je marche dessus. Tu regardes. Youssef Larchi. Je pense qu'on n'a pas eu des relations. Oui, toujours un cochon. Je fais ça une fois par mois parce que je pense qu'il gagne. Je fais chaque minute, à 2 minutes chacun. Une minute.
C'est toujours pareil. Tu sais, c'est toujours pareil.
C'est comme la sécurité par l'autre. Sauf que c'est tellement sur ta boîte. Tu peux avoir l'accès s'il n'y a pas de rien. Comme ça.
Non, mais après, je m'étais installé là, je suis arrivé en premier dans la salle.
En plus, il y a un truc trop intéressant à faire.
Ils peuvent participer à distance, c'est maintenant connecté et le stream est aussi sur la place de la gare.
Les conférences de potes, il y a dans tous les cas. Et là,
c'est chaque fois Versailles quand je suis allé à... C'est chaque fois. C'est ça, chaque fois. C'est incroyable. Je fais une fois par mois, mais quand même.
Je peux les préparer l'école, mais sur la cyber,
c'est le stress.
C'est le stress, que ce soit un streaming. Sans le streaming, ça
Alors, vous êtes en français.
J'ai prévu de parler en anglais.
Oui, c'est pas fait. Moi, je parle aussi en anglais, mais c'est vrai que pour moi, c'est pas en anglais.
D'ailleurs, il est le président français.
Côté SNCF, ça va, vous avez un doctorat particulier.
On a vraiment besoin de rapport en fait d'activité qui sont valables. Ça c'est vraiment il faut valider auprès des dirigeants comme en fait, il y a deux jours juste avant que en 2020, il restait que le cycle 2 et le temps de formaliser les conventions.
Ah oui, en ce moment, parce que comme il y a plus vous avez de partenaires tous les services juridiques, CIMET, les validations environnementales,
C'est toujours compliqué.
la fondation, les zones de projet, du staff, également l'école avait sa fondation, c'est possible, mais bon, voilà, ça
Voilà, sinon on rentre vraiment dans le dur là sur le cycle 3 avec des sujets qui nous intéressent particulièrement. Ce qui permettra de juger sur les 3 années. Voilà.
Et vous êtes basé où?
À Saint-Denis,
À Saint-Denis.
à Paris.
Ah oui, c'est très bien.
Les directions
Est-ce que Michel, tu m'entends? Oui, ok, parfait. Alors, je t'entends probablement, mais pas encore ici, mais je vais faire ça. Ok, super, merci.
Alors, qui est à distance?
Michel, il peut t'entendre avec ça, mais tu peux pas encore l'entendre.
Non, mais c'est parce que moi, je vais saluer les partenaires industriels présents.
Ah, ils sont tous présents.
Voilà.
Je peux te donner la liste après. Ils sont tous là, sauf SNCF.
Oui, Monsieur Pipi, il y a la partie EDF aussi qui est présente, j'ai vu. Donc à distance, c'est BNP, d'accord. Et puis il y a qui encore qui manque? Donc SNCF, EDF, BNP Paribas. Et il est là, Serge ou pas?
Serge, là, mais Serge, peut je répondre. Ça va être Nicolas Vaz.
Oui, c'est ça, ok. Moi, je donne la parole après mon intervention au colonel, c'est ça? D'après ton programme?
Ah non, moi je vais modérer.
D'accord,
Donc,
ok.
C'est bon. C'est parce que en effet, c'est pas encore clair qui va intervenir là.
D'accord, ok.
Voilà. Est-ce que Michel, tu peux dire quelque chose? Tu es encore en mute. Ok, ça marche. Oui, ça marche, c'est parfait. C'est parfait. On t'entend très bien. Super. Et voilà, et ça va. Si tu fais en anglais, c'est parfait. Certainement faire en français, mais la langage préférée, c'est l'anglais.
Alors, j'ai prévu de le faire en anglais.
Ouais, c'est parfait. Ok, super. Donc, tout est bon avec pour toi. Ok, merci. Okay, we still have 1 minute. I will just start the streams and so on. So if you see something that is interesting, there will also be the recordings available on YouTube, LinkedIn, and also Facebook. So you can have a look afterwards as well on the slides and so on. So it's quite a confident session. So yeah, we'll start in a minute. Okay, so let's start. Welcome to the session about the Chair Cyber CNI, cybersecurity for critical network infrastructures. I'm very happy to welcome so many of you today for this session, and I'm sure that you will not be disappointed because, as you might have seen on the program, I really created an appealing program in the sense that we have short interventions by high-profile people with lots of information, and therefore I think it will be quite an interesting session and look forward to going through it with you. My name is Marc-Oliver Pahl. I'm the chairholder of the Chair Cyber CNI, and I will moderate the program and introduce you to the chair. we also have a panel at the end. So yeah, let's get started. So the first session I titled "The Chair Cybersecurity of Critical Networked Infrastructures as Important Pillar in the French and European Cybersecurity Ecosystem." And in that part I want to present you a bit the work that we do at the chair. And then we have testimonials from the institutional heads, from the industry partners, from the regional partners, from the Polex and Cyber, about the partnership with the chair, the importance of cybersecurity, and also the importance of having such a construction like an industrial research chair in the cybersecurity ecosystem of France, of Europe, and of the world. I give you a quick overview of the program, but you also have it in front of you. If not, Fabienne will be happy to give you one. So this is what we've planned for the first part of the session. So it goes from 9:30 to 10:30. Then we have some time for networking. We can exchange. You can get some food, some drinks, and so on. And then in the second part, in the afternoon session, not in the afternoon session, in the second session, which will start at 11 o'clock. This is a part that is focused on the research, and this I titled Excellent Cybersecurity Research around current challenges in cybersecurity for critical infrastructures. And in there we have mainly two blocks. So first of all, we have also a statement from Jerome Chayadi from the Regional Council of Brittany. And then afterwards I will introduce the research activities, and then we have 90-second pitches of the PhD students and postdocs that are doing research at the chair. They give you an insight in what are the topics, what are the current highlights of their work. And then in the end at 11:30 we have a panel on how safe are our critical infrastructures under the current geopolitical circumstances, because the war in Ukraine is the last huge event for us in Europe. And there we've seen that maybe our cybersecurity risk analysis has to be updated, because we've seen that there are much more vulnerabilities than the average person might have thought. And we'll go a little bit into that in the panel. And there I'm also very happy to have a very good spectrum of panelists with very different backgrounds. So therefore, cordial invitation to stay really until the end of this session. Okay, so then let's start with the first part. So the chair cybersecurity for critical network infrastructures. What is this? So the chair is an industrial chair. That means we have industry partners. So at the moment these are Airbus, BNP Paribas, EDF, and SNCF that are also present today, and they give funding that helps us to finance PhD students and postdocs, and together with them we then do research with close exchange with industry partners. And I'm coming from Germany originally, and there such a concept is not existing, such industrial chairs with multiple industry partners. But when I put myself into the perspective of me having done a PhD, a situation of being inside a structure where I have multiple industry partners that I have regularly points for exchange with, sparring partners in the industry, use cases from the industry, data from the industry, I would have dreamt of that. And therefore I'm quite excited and happy for being in this position right now, because we can really do great research with great resources that we have in the ecosystem around the chair. So, the chair is a chair of the IMT Telecom, and those of you from France definitely know IMT Telecom, the biggest grand école in France, and those who don't know it now know it. So it's really the biggest grand école, and so Technical University is the English term of that. And IMT, Institut Telecom, is distributed all over France. So this was the map last year, I guess. And therefore, in the chair there can be multiple entities, and in the chair there are also 3 schools that are contributing to the chair. And the chair headquarters is in Rennes at IMT Atlantique. this is also where I'm working as a professor for cybersecurity. And we also have PhD students in Brest, where there's one part of IMT Atlantique, because IMT Atlantique is in Brest and at Nantes. And we also have two schools in Paris, namely Telecom Paris and Telecom Sud Paris. And we have students also at these places. And for me, this is also great because cybersecurity, this is nothing where you can stay isolated and do your thing alone. But it's very important to work together with excellent partners. And at the chair, we have exactly this situation. So that means the students that are presenting today, they were coming from Paris, they were coming from Brest, to you today for presenting their work and discussing it also with you in person. The most important thing when you do research is people, and at the chair we have lots of people, so we have more than 10 professors that are involved, we have more than 4 postdocs, we have 9 PhD students at the moment, and in the 2 phases that are still active, which is phase 2 and phase 3, we have 7 partners that are working with us. When you look at it from an administrative perspective or a funding perspective, this is something that is always running for periods of 3 years, and then it's getting renewed. And this is the history of the chair Cyber CNI. It's quite an old chair because it already started in 2016, and therefore we could already do lots of works. And through the time we had changing industry partners, which also totally makes sense because based on funding decisions, based on the interests, do I want to invest in research now or do I not want to invest in research now? Do I want to invest in this research or that research? We have changes of these partners. And yeah, at the moment, if you know or if you are someone who thinks, that could be interesting, joining the chair, I also cordially invite you to contact us so we can discuss it a little bit more, because as you will see today, it's really a win-win situation, in the best sense, partnering with the chair and doing some activities together. And at the moment, we're looking for 2-3 more partners, maybe to add to the chair. Okay, so one element that we regularly do at the chair is that every 6 months we do a research update. The last one we did at the General Direction of SNCF in Paris just 2 weeks ago, the place where Sul Capi is coming from. And what we do today is like a condensed form of a research update with a much more extended program. And this is also something that is important in the management of the chair and also in the interaction with other parties, being able to formulate your research problems, presenting it in a concise and precise manner, and then afterwards discussing with industry partners. And this is exactly what we do with this occasion. And for that we are traveling through France to partners and doing the research updates there. We always publish the information about the research updates afterwards, so if you're interested in longer forms of the presentations that you see today, just go to our website. And there we also have longer videos of 20 minutes of each PhD student, where you can follow a little bit more what they're doing. And also I cordially invite you, of course, to use the time today to discuss with the people and the topics that you are interested in. And we are also looking for 2 more PhD students. The offers are also with us, so I guess Fabienne, I don't see her at the moment. I guess Fabienne has also the printouts of the job offers, so if you're interested in that, also please approach her. Okay, so research. So of course we are research chair, so we do research, and the research that we do, I'll go a little bit more into detail in the afternoon, but the research that we do is structured in 4 axes. And if, as you're all in cybersecurity, you will not be surprised that the first axis is prevent security by design. How can I protect the static parts of a system in advance? The second part is detect. As the system is not static but dynamic, it interacts with other systems, it interacts with people. You have to also detect dynamic anomalies. This is what we do here. When you detect something, in order to increase the resilience of the system, you want to mitigate from the things that you detected, obviously. And this is what we do in the mitigate section here. And then another very important factor that is often overlooked is the human interface, because cybersecurity is nothing that exists in itself, like, okay, I put a box and then I have cybersecurity. But cybersecurity is something where you have to assess risks, you have to take decisions what you do, and these are humans that are taking these decisions, at least in the end, because you cannot fully automate that. I mean, you can, but then the algorithm is responsible for your loss, and you might not want that. And therefore, we also have the access looking at human-machine interfaces for cybersecurity, keyword metaverse, using it for professional cybersecurity tasks, and this is also something that we'll present today in the afternoon at the end. At the chair we have multiple PhD students, as I said before, and here you see how they are distributed over the 4 axes, and this is also a very good setting because we have students that are further or earlier in their activities, and so therefore they can support each other, they can work together. We have large test beds where the people can interact and work together, and this is quite nice. Plus, again, cybersecurity is nothing where you can look at an isolated topic, but you have to look at different topics because in combination they define the cybersecurity of your systems, and therefore it's also important and good that we have these different elements at the chair covered by different PhD students, as you will hear in the afternoon. But we do not only research, but we also do lots of additional activities. Of course, we have publications, so here's an excerpt of what we published in this year. And when you go on the website, there we also have a stream of activities where we always try to update what we did. So we're a little bit behind, but in general, we always try to put things. And there you see that we have lots of events, like the Forum International Cybersecurity, where we participated. We organize a PhD school, and so on. So I cordially invite you to look at that. If you're interested in looking a little bit more what the chair is doing, we also try to publish our research talks there and so on. One big thing is a speaker series that we're organizing. It's called Talk Cyber CNI, and this one is about rising awareness on cybersecurity issues. And this is happening once a month, typically. Look at the website if you're interested. So the next talk will be next week. The recordings are also all available, and this is also a very interesting thing. Here you see a little bit an overview of the speakers and the talks that we had already. Okay, so this is the last edition of the PhD school that we were doing. The next one will be in next summer in Paris at the campus Cyber. So if you're interested, also check the website. We'll open the registration soon. We participate at big fairs, and here I'll quickly go through it because we don't have too much time today. So we have different activities throughout the year. We're also present in media, participating in roundtables and so on. We're co-organizing conferences, taking part in scientific events, obviously. We also make holidays and research updates and so on. And now we are also at the European Cyber Week, and we also have some demos at the stand of Airbus. It's the stand 8, I guess, in the basement. Okay, very good. And that brings me directly to the first or next point in the agenda, which is the testimonials of our partners. And the first one that I invite to give his speech. And I'm very happy. Let me just quickly check if I have a glitch here. Yes, 1 second. I just have to switch the order. Okay, perfect. Good. So, and the first one that I invite is Christophe Lerouge, and Christophe is the director of IMT Atlantique, and I'm especially happy, Christophe, having you here because first of all, you're impressed, and second, you're super busy, and therefore it's a great honor and pleasure having you here. And without further ado, I directly hand over to you.
Je me mets où pour être face à la caméra? C'est bon, je fais comme ça. Non? Ok.
Bonjour à tous et à toutes. Donc effectivement, je suis Christophe Lerouge, je suis le directeur d'IMT Atlantique. Alors, je vais continuer en anglais. I will follow in English. So my name is Christophe Lerouge. I'm the president of IMT Atlantique. Marc-Oliver, thank you very much for your speech and for organizing this conference. Marc-Oliver has already said a lot of things about the chair and IMT Atlantique, but I just want to focus or to remind you of what is IMT Atlantique. You said it's a grande école. I say it's a technological university. We are small, but we want to be strong. We have 2,000 students that we are training in 3 campuses. Rennes, of course, Nantes, which is 100 kilometers to the south, and Brest, 200 kilometers to the west. We are a university, so we train students, we train engineers, we train scientists in the field of transitions. Transition, ecological transition, energy transition, cyber transition. All those subjects are of concern for private companies, for the industry. Our job, our goal, our objectives are to train the students, of course, but to answer the need of the industry. And the needs, in fact, are in cyber, are in everything which concerns the digital world, everything that concerns the energy, everything that concerns the environment. As you may know, as you know, of course, the industry right now is lacking a lot of skills, specifically in cyber, specifically in information technology. And that's why we are here. We are here to answer those needs. We are here to give our students the skills which are needed by the companies. 2,000 students, our goal is to increase the number of students. So in the next few years, we will increase by 5, 10, maybe 20% of students. And we are sure that it's not a problem because all of our students find jobs very, very easily. Because, and I know that I'm speaking to private companies, you need those skills, you need those young people who are willing to work in your company. Marc-Oliver said a few things about cyber, how we are organized, and just want to remind you that we have a research department in Rennes, which is specialized in cyber infrastructure. We work on the internet infrastructure. We work with telecommunication operators. We do not only work on technology, we also work on law. We try to train our students in a large variety of fields. This research department is involved in the Chair Cyber CNI, and I want to thank, of course, all of our partners. The links between the private companies and IMT Atlantique are essential for us. As I've told you, we train our students so that they can be employed by private companies. And the fact that we work with those private companies, that we can try to know what are their needs, what are the problems which occur in the economic world is very, very important. And that's why we are very focused on working with Cyber CNI. So I want to thank all of our partners. I won't be much longer, but my speech is just to convince you that the cyber security is at the heart of our problems, at the heart of what we want to do in IMT Atlantique. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Christophe, for the great speech. And if you want, you can clap your hands. Okay, and the next one I welcome on stage is Véronique Stéphan, and she's Vice President of Development and Corporate Relations at IMT Atlantique, and Véronique, the floor is yours.
So hi, hello everybody. I'm going to switch in French because just to remember we are in Rennes in France also, so not only in English and just to welcome. So moi je voulais juste insister, comme l'a fait Christophe à la fin, sur l'importance d'avoir le cofinancement, mais aussi l'accompagnement en research et tous les sujets de recherche de nos partenaires industriels sur la chaire. Voilà. Donc la plupart d'entre eux sont tous présents aujourd'hui, donc c'est très important. La SNCF, EDF, BNP est également en ligne, et bien sûr Airbus cybersécurité, Defense Space. Voilà. Je voulais également saluer la région Bretagne, qui accompagne la chaire depuis le début, depuis 2016, et la création du pôle Cyber Excellence. La région Bretagne a été une des régions fer de lance en France des sujets sur la cybersécurité, et donc c'est logiquement qu'elle accompagne, qu'elle finance cette chaire depuis le début. Une chaire donc, dont les sujets de recherche adressent à la fois les infrastructures clés, énergie, transport, différents domaines de transport, finances, qui peuvent être donc l'objet d'attaques et pouvoir anticiper ces attaques et les contrer. Mais il y a aussi tout le volet public, ça a été rappelé, de la défense, et une région comme la Bretagne accueille beaucoup d'activités économiques dans ce domaine. Et donc je pense que c'est important de souligner que depuis le début, depuis 2016, on peut compter sur le soutien de la région Bretagne. C'est pas souvent qu'une entité publique finance des chaires industrielles privées, donc ça méritait d'être salué. Je crois d'ailleurs qu'il y a un représentant de la région Bretagne qui intervient tout à l'heure.
Oui.
Voilà. Et moi, je voulais juste ouvrir en vous disant, comme l'a dit aussi Marc-Oliver, qu'on est très ouvert à accueillir d'autres partenaires sur la chaire, évidemment sous réserve que les partenaires actuels l'acceptent, parce que c'est toujours une décision collégiale, et particulièrement dans le domaine des médias, qui est aussi une infrastructure à certains points de vue clé. On l'a vu dans les récents, la guerre en Ukraine notamment l'a montré, la guerre elle est également médiatique, et bien sûr les médias font l'objet de cyberattaques. Également tout le domaine de la santé et de l'hospitalier, on l'a vu aussi, régulièrement l'objet d'attaques, et ça aussi la santé en sortant de la crise sanitaire que nous avons connue, c'est essentiel. Voilà. Donc on est très ouvert, et j'étais là pour vous le dire aussi, lancer un appel à tous ceux qui voudraient bien nous rejoindre et contribuer à ces travaux de recherche encore jusqu'à 2025. Donc ça fera presque 10 ans en tout de recherche sur la cyber. Voilà, bonne continuation et bonne journée à tous.
Merci beaucoup, Véronique. Et le prochain, c'est pas le colonel Pierre Noborelli, parce que lui, malheureusement, il est pris, mais nous avons un autre excellent candidat pour parler ici. C'est Patrick Guérin, l'adjoint du délégué général. Et Patrick, le micro est derrière toi, tu peux prendre ceci. Et Patrick est le représentant du BEC, du pôle d'excellence cyber, de l'institution qui organise So Patrick Guérin is the joint from the general director of the pôle d'excellence cyber, which is the institution that is organizing this wonderful event here. And so Patrick, the stage is yours.
Thank you very much, Marc-Oliver. Patrick Guérin, bonjour à tous. On a créé le pôle il y a 8 ans. Moi, ça fait 8 ans que je travaille avec les industriels, les académiques et les militaires autour de 3 sujets, la formation, la recherche et le développement industriel. Cette chaire CNI, quand elle a été créée, j'étais à l'IMT Atlantique, j'étais chercheur, je suis chercheur en cybersécurité. Je suis connu dans le milieu du hacking puisque j'organise aujourd'hui au 2e étage le plus grand challenge de hacking, avec Airbus d'ailleurs et d'autres partenaires. Et je suis là pour vous dire que cette chaire, je suis très content de voir Yvon Kermarek qui a créé la chaire avec moi à l'époque à l'IMT Atlantique. Cette chaire était essentielle parce qu'on s'est aperçu à l'époque que les infrastructures critiques allaient être le sujet principal des attaques des États, puisqu'aujourd'hui, vous savez que les confrontations étatiques sont le véritable problème du cyberespace. La cybercriminalité en est une, mais aujourd'hui, les confrontations étatiques, quand les États s'attaquent, c'est avec des data centers, c'est avec des capacités qui sont tout autres que les petits gars qui sont dans leur chambre ou qui font de la cybercriminalité. Donc cette chaire, on l'a créée, j'étais le premier doctorant de la chaire, juste pour l'anecdote. La chaire a démarré avec moi. Et je me suis régalé à travailler sur les sujets de la chaire, c'est-à-dire protéger nos banques, nos OIV, nos systèmes industriels. Voilà. Et je suis très fier que Marc-Oliver m'ait donné la parole aujourd'hui parce que la dynamique qu'a imprimée Marc-Oliver dans cette chaire, et je vous parle en français parce que je rappelle à tout le monde que normalement une chaire se fait dans la langue d'origine, parce qu'on maîtrise bien mieux sa langue que l'anglais, et qu'il y a eu le Brexit, et qu'on continue à traduire nos thèses en anglais. Les Anglais ne traduisent pas beaucoup de leurs thèses en français. Voilà, c'est juste des petites remarques pour dire que je défends un sujet qui est une filière qu'on est en train d'essayer de créer en appui des industriels autour on va dire, de la défense, dont Airbus est un des représentants essentiels, puisque dans cette chaire, il est le représentant des industriels. Et on essaye d'amener les jeunes à comprendre que les infrastructures critiques, c'est un sujet très important. Comme l'a dit Marc-Oliver, la guerre en Ukraine nous a démontré qu'on avait raison. Et cette chaire, c'est une très belle chaire. Moi, j'ai tendance à dire, si vous avez envie de faire une thèse, proposez des sujets à des directeurs de recherche de cette chaire, travaillez avec l'IMT Atlantique, qui est une superbe école. Je rappelle quand même que, même si le directeur tout à l'heure a dit c'est une petite école, oui, c'est quand même la plus grande école de Bretagne. Voilà. Donc, et la cybersécurité est à Rennes, et Rennes, vous le comprenez aujourd'hui avec l'European Cyber Week, c'est un contexte fabuleux pour la cyber, et on essaye de créer quelque chose avec vous. Je remercie aussi Eric Gousset qui est au fond et qui a travaillé sur les plateformes dans le cadre de la chaire CNI et qui s'est déplacé pour venir aujourd'hui. En fait, la chaire, c'est une petite famille, voilà, dont le papa, c'est Marc-Oliver aujourd'hui, et on est fiers de l'avoir. Merci à tous.
Merci beaucoup, Patrick. Very good, and as Patrick was just telling anecdotes, so I personally was joining the chair end of 2019, so I was not participating in this start, but I'm always super happy of meeting the people that were there even before me, and with Patrick the work is definitely great. Okay, perfect, so I'm very happy because we are very good in the timing, very good. And the next one I welcome on stage is Nicolas Razzi. He's the head of defense and strategic programs in France from Airbus, and Airbus is also the president of the chair. So the one that is standing in front of the industrials is also from Airbus. And yeah, Nicolas, je te donne la parole.
Alors je vois qu'on a basculé en français, donc je continue en français.
Comme tu veux.
Bonjour à tous et merci Marc-Olivier de me donner l'opportunité de faire ce témoignage. Alors moi je suis responsable des activités cyber chez Airbus Defence and Space pour la France. Donc on est une entité qui fait du business. Donc la question peut se poser, quel est l'intérêt pour nous de passer du temps, de l'effort, de l'argent à développer les partenariats académiques et puis et à travailler avec Marc-Olivier sur la chaire CNI. En fait, il y a deux raisons principales pour ça, donc, qui ont déjà été un petit peu évoquées, mais je vais les ressouligner. Le premier sujet, c'est le sujet RH. Aujourd'hui, côté cybersécurité, on voit bien le manque de compétences. Et nous, on se sent une responsabilité un petit peu sociale là-dedans. C'est-à-dire qu'on a envie d'aider l'écosystème à développer ses compétences. Et on espère bien que parmi ces compétences, certaines nous rejoindront pour la suite. Donc ça, on le fait de plusieurs manières. On le fait en mettant en place des partenariats avec les académiques et en participant, par exemple, aux commissions de programme. L'enjeu pour nous, c'est d'apporter en fait les attentes que nous, on aura pour les étudiants quand ils sortiront de leur cycle d'études et qui nous rejoindront dans l'industrie. Donc ça, on le fait au travers donc, de ces comités de programme. On le fait également au travers de partage d'outils ou de mise à disposition d'outils. Je peux donner un exemple. On a une plateforme qui s'appelle la CyberCNI, qui est une plateforme de simulation, d'entraînement, de formation. Et c'est quelque chose qu'on valorise dans le cadre de nos partenariats. On apporte un support, on développe une communauté pour avoir, je dirais, des références communes en termes d'outils utilisés dans l'industrie sur les aspects cyber. Donc là, c'est le premier volet, c'est le premier volet RH. Le deuxième volet, bien sûr, c'est l'innovation. Alors l'innovation, on a nos capacités d'innovation en propre dans notre organisation. Hein. On a de la R&D, on fait des projets d'innovation, mais je dirais que c'est des choses qui sont relativement, on va dire, court-moyen terme. Il y a aussi un certain nombre de sujets qu'on a envie de, je dirais, de creuser sur des TRL plus bas, sur un temps plus long. Et c'est pour ça qu'on s'adresse à des organisations comme la Chair. C'est pour bénéficier en commun de la recherche qui peut être faite dans le domaine de la cyber. Je vais vous donner peut-être 2 exemples rapides. On est intéressé sur les sujets réalité virtuelle, sur les nouveaux modes d'interaction liés à la cybersécurité, sur les nouvelles interfaces homme-machine. Donc on travaille avec Marc-Oliver sur ce sujet-là. Et on espère bien qu'on pourra développer des nouveaux projets dans des cadres type cadre européen sur ce sujet. Un autre exemple, c'est sur le Federated Learning et l'IA en général, et en particulier, on a présenté hier au César un papier sur le sujet, co-présenté avec nos ingénieurs et des représentants de la chaire. Voilà. Donc voilà en 4 minutes ce que je peux dire sur notre intérêt, sur la manière dont on voit les partenariats académiques de chez Airbus Defence and Space Cyber.
Merci beaucoup, Nicolas. And yeah, as Nicolas just said it, we also had 2 paper presentations at the César yesterday, so the publications, you find them on the website, and the talks we also recorded, so they will also be on the website very soon. And doing research papers together with the industry partners is of course also a great expression of the really strong and close collaboration that we have with our industry partners. So thanks a lot. So the next one is Michel Stuck. He's the head of Group IT Technology of Intelligence from BNP Paribas. Unluckily, Michel could not physically make it, but as I just tried before, it seems that the connection is working quite well. That means we can very well hear him. I will just put you on the screen, so just let me put you on the bigger, 1 second. Okay, looks good. Okay, Michel, the floor is yours.
Yes, Marc-Oliver. I'll try to be in 4 minutes explaining why we are dealing with that superb share, which is Cyber CNI. So my name is Marc-Michel Stack, and as Marc-Oliver said, I'm in charge of technology intelligence within Group IT, and we are working with the team, with all the business innovation teams in BNP Paribas. BNP Paribas is the leading bank of the European Union, so today being a major financial actor means a lot of finance competencies, but also a lot of IT competencies, with many skilled employees to run, transform, and also to protect the information system. We are not dealing with a gentleman, gentlewoman environment. I heard what was said before, we agree. Yesterday, we mainly have physical safes, physical money, and violence with real bandits. Today, the modern bad guy is digitally skilled, and we are under attack every day, every minute of every day, and it's really a big challenge for us. All this in a digitalized world that is evolving faster than ever, faster than most of us technically understand. Nevertheless, we need to understand what is coming, not only tomorrow, short term, but also long term, because it takes time to adapt the bank to any new technology. I used to say that we are an old woman, and it takes time to really adapt the banking systems. And it also takes time to help our customers with new ways of behaving. For all these reasons, we are partnering with the academic ecosystem on top of our industrial peers and suppliers. So since 2008, we are a membre fondateur of the Institut Mines Télécom, and we are starting this year as membre résident of the newly created Campus Cyber. It's a major move for us. We are facing a big difficulty in sourcing the right people at the moment, especially in cyber. We started in 2022 with the new strategic plan called GTS 2025. We strongly position technology together with sustainability and growth as our main priorities. Cyber CNI is one of the various share and academic projects that allow us to think long-term. Participating to a share allows our employees to develop their network, starting with the stakeholders of the share, such as SNCF, EDF, Airbus, and to develop innovative ideas in a spirit of open innovation, which is very dear to my thoughts. Last but not least, at group level, it is the opportunity to increase our visibility with the students. We are also a major industrial employer, and we have a constant need of very skilled students. And we propose that they contribute to the challenges of BNP Paribas, helping us to stay among the best. Since 2016, the Chair Cyber CNI has been a place where we can aim at the future, develop a common understanding of our threats, and start assemble ideas and pieces of solutions. That's why I'm very glad to be with you for the third season of the Chair, and it would be fantastic, in fact, to be joined by new stakeholders. Thank you, Marc-Oliver.
Thank you very much, Marc-Michel. And the aspect that Marc-Michel was mentioning, like the positioning of in some years, this is of course what one does with a research chair. So we are not doing product development, but we are doing perspectives, we show opportunities, how things could evolve, how we can protect against things that might be relevant and interesting in some years. And this is of course an important mission, because cybersecurity is nothing that you can think of in the short term, as we always see when we look at things that are happening in cybersecurity. And so therefore, independent of engaging with the chair, it's super important to engage in cybersecurity as early and with as much budget as possible. Okay, perfect. So that brings me to the third industry partner, which is EDF. And therefore I welcome on stage Etienne Descossins. He's responsible of the Tech of Information Program and Advanced Simulation at EDF Research and Development. And Youssef Larouchi, who is a Cybersecurity Project Manager also at EDF. And the floor is yours.
Merci Marc-Oliver. Bon, il y a eu un petit peu de temps gagné sur les autres, donc peut-être qu'on va en perdre, commander à deux. Donc merci beaucoup pour l'invitation. Donc je vais donner quelques éléments de contexte sur la R&D d'EDF et ce qui nous amène à sponsoriser la chaire depuis sa création. Et puis Youssef apportera son témoignage puisque tu as suivi, je pense, le dossier depuis le début. Donc la R&D d'EDF, c'est 1800 chercheurs qui travaillent sur tous les métiers de l'activité de l'énergie d'EDF. Donc c'est aussi bien la production, avec un objectif de produire bas carbone et puis en toute sûreté, bien sûr. Donc avec les moyens nucléaires, hydrauliques, puis renouvelables. C'est aussi les réseaux, donc là aussi avec toute la question de la sécurité d'approvisionnement, et puis c'est bien sûr le client, avec la fourniture d'électricité bas carbone, et puis le fait d'aider nos clients à être eux-mêmes bas carbone, nos industriels à être bas carbone. Donc le programme que je supervise, il vise à accompagner la transformation numérique de l'entreprise, et on travaille à anticiper finalement les innovations qui viennent dans le domaine du numérique. Alors, on a un programme passionnant autour de l'informatique quantique, autour de l'intelligence artificielle, des jumeaux numériques et bien sûr de la cybersécurité que supervise Youssef à côté de moi. Donc bien sûr la cybersécurité, c'est un enjeu pour nous. Bon, tout le monde comprendra qu'effectivement, dans les circonstances actuelles, la fourniture d'énergie, c'est un élément crucial pour la société. Donc le fait d'être résilient et de se protéger d'un point de vue cybersécurité, c'est très important. Et puis donc on mène un programme finalement qui vise à accompagner toute l'entreprise et les opérationnels à être toujours au meilleur niveau, aussi à former des gens. Et puis du coup, on a toute une activité d'innovation en cybersécurité assez importante qu'on fait nous-mêmes, mais aussi en partenariat avec des partenariats nationaux, européens. Et puis bien sûr, tout ça, c'est des sujets passionnants sur lesquels on a plein d'offres de recrutement intéressantes autour de la qualification des objets, de l'intelligence artificielle, de l'analyse de risque, etc., la cryptographie post-quantique, des choses comme ça. Et donc c'est ce qui nous amène à être dans la chaire, et je vais laisser Youssef nous donner quelques mots sur ce qu'on a fait avec la chaire et puis ce qu'on souhaite en faire demain.
Oui, merci Étienne. Donc peut-être la première question, pourquoi la chaire déjà? Je pense que la cybersécurité par la sécurité, c'était vraiment un peu la démarche classique, c'est-à-dire on ne partage rien et on est bien. On est en cybersécurité, on sait que ça ne marche pas, le principe de Kirchhoff, il ne faut jamais faire ça. Il faut juste avoir le secret des clés. Donc c'est un peu pareil ce qu'on a fait dans la chaire. Du coup on s'était dit, il faut sortir de l'environnement EDF, franco-EDF, donc du coup on s'est ouvert un peu à la chaire avec des partenaires pour faire de la recherche en cybersécurité et sur la cybersécurité des systèmes critiques, donc, ce qui est quand même assez innovant pour la R&D d'EDF. Donc quand on a lancé la chaire, les sujets qui nous intéressaient, c'était vraiment la résilience d'un point de vue général, et on le voit dans les différentes thèses qui ont été soutenues dans les premières phases. Après, on a orienté vraiment la recherche vers tout ce qui est IA, la donnée, l'industrial IoT, etc. Donc ça, c'était la deuxième phase. Et là, maintenant, ce qui nous intéresse et sur lequel on va travailler vraiment avec Marc-Oliver, c'est vraiment le volet expérimentation, plateforme. Ces données-là, comment les rapatrier avec donc, nos ingénieurs-chercheurs en interne. Donc ça, c'est un volet très important, expérimentation, plateforme. Et puis, qui dit aussi données, expérimentation, dit aussi la sécurité des codes qu'on va exécuter, des codes sources, des choses innovantes qu'on va regarder aussi dans la chaire avec le code ledger, etc. Ça, c'est des problématiques qui n'étaient pas là avant et que la chaire va vraiment nous permettre de regarder dans les années à venir. Un autre volet aussi important pour nous, je vois que Léo juste là, du coup c'est assez intéressant de regarder ce qui est apprentissage aussi fédéré, des choses comme ça, c'est des techniques pour l'IA et la donnée qui sont au croisement des deux chemins. Et puis juste un petit clin d'œil pour la recherche aussi, il y a des sujets qui sont très intéressants parce qu'ils sortent un peu de l'ordinaire. Et la chaire nous a un peu capté à ce niveau-là. Je pense notamment à tout ce qui est travaux sur la réalité virtuelle, avec montrer un nouveau visage du socle qu'on n'avait pas vu ailleurs dans d'autres travaux. Ça, c'était très intéressant de passer aussi à creuser avec notre socle, entre autres. Merci.
Parfait, merci à vous deux. C'est vraiment impressionnant que les gens restent dans le temps, c'est super. Et c'est aussi super pour moi parce qu'avec les témoignages, pour moi, for me, the testimonials is very satisfying because in the statements you see what I really try to do, that the industry partners know what we do and how we collaborate and so on. And this is really great because it really shows that we closely work on the topics that we have. Okay, cool. That brings me now to our fourth industry partner, and this is SNCF. And from the SNCF we have Cyril Capi, who is the team leader of rail safety systems at SNCF. And Cyril is also the Vice President Research and Development at the Federation, at the French Federation of Cybersecurity. In the later role, he'll intervene in the roundtable at 11:30. And now he's speaking for SNCF, and Cyril, the stage is yours.
Thanks a lot, Marc-Oliver, and thank you for this invitation. Before talking about what we do in this chair, I would like to talk why we choose the IMT chair, in fact. In the cybersecurity domain in Europe and in France more particularly, there is a lack of academic research in cybersecurity. If you compare with the US, with Israel and China, the ecosystem is more relevant. So it is very important to have a strong research in this domain because there is a lot of issues for the futures.
So when I found the IMT chair, I was surprised by the topics led by the IMT and the quality of the partnership. So we decided at SNCF to integrate this chair, and we are very happy for this decision. Now, what we do concretely in this chair? The first target for us is to develop and support a high level of academic research. It's very important for SNCF, but for all the ecosystem in France. In this chair, we have some topics, some relevant topics, and we aim to focus on different technologies, relevant technologies, to be able to implement new systems. I will talk about quantum computing. Quantum computing is a real problem, not for now, but for the future, in 10 years, maybe. And the quantum computing will be an impact on our cryptography, on our blockchain, and so on. Another topic is AI. AI, it's a good way. It seems to be a good way to develop higher protection, but there is a lot of question about AI. Can we be confident with AI? And we need to determine the trade-off between the AI of attacks versus the AI of defender. And there is some works about it. Federated learning, we other partners talk about. And finally, another topic is collaborative work. I would talk about metaverse with augmented reality and virtual reality. I will talk about another topics. I don't remind. I apologize, but the metaverse, it's a good way, from my point of view, to be able to develop a new system to help analysts. You know, there is a lack of resources in France, and we need to try solution to simplify the work and the knowledge for analysts to be able to strengthen the protection with detection and automation response. So I think I have finished.
Perfect. Thank you very much. And what you've also seen is that the partners come really from different domains, and this is also intentional because the cybersecurity, once again, is something where you have to look at comprehensively. So you have to look at from four different domains, from different points of views. And for me personally, cybersecurity is a set of tools, of practices, and so on that one has, and then you can adapt it and apply it to different domains. Some of the domains see more attacks at the moment, others see them later. We have similar challenges, we have different challenges, and in order to make the planet better, in order to enable technology to support us, it has to be secured, and therefore for us it's really important to look at these different facets and to contribute to some of them together with the research community, and also to support the industry partners in doing innovation and looking at topics that they might not have looked at otherwise, because they are really far, like Yusuf said, about the user interface. Okay, good. So perfect. Yeah, thank you very much for all the testimonials. It was impressive, and I'm more than happy about what I heard, and also about the format, because I think it was really a great gathering of this information exchange. In the remaining few minutes of this morning, I want to go a little bit deeper into what I said at the beginning. So if you think about, okay, why to take part at the chair, this presentation now is rather for partners. In the research part in the afternoon, I have a similar thing for students, for researchers, for postdocs. So yeah, for the second one, I also invite you to join the second session. So for the industry partners, I listed down 8 points that we often have in the discussions when I talk with new people that might be interested in joining. So the first point, of course, is extending competencies. With the chair, you can really go out of the box. You can do something with relatively low risk and look at topics and pre-look at them that you might be looking in parallel or together with us later or in parallel, as I said. So this is definitely something. Getting inputs, being connected to the research world, because this is what we do professionally, so we look at that every day. Then the second point is access to many research opportunities, because in France there are different funding schemes. So one of them is called CIFRE, which basically is you have a PhD student in your company and they get supported by the institution like the IMT Atlantique. With us it's different, the PhD students are with us, therefore they can all work together. And as they are with us, it's also not a problem that multiple companies are working together with the same student. It's even the opposite, so this is the typical case with us, that we have 2 to 3, sometimes even 4 industry partners that are joining the discussion for the same topic. And this is a great thing. And this is also something which for me as a researcher is a huge plus. Because, as said at the beginning, it's really a luxury for the researcher for having so many sparring partners in the research, so many opportunities to exchange, so many insights from different directions. The third is, and this is also like when we talk money-wise, this is of course also good, because typically the industry partners are paying the equivalent of 2 PhD students, and they have access to all PhD students, which is also of course a very good ratio. The third thing is additional opportunities for joint research, which is obvious in that sense. As we're closely working together, it's of course at hand that we launch additional projects like European Union funded projects and so on. Because with the people you're working with already, it's the easiest to create something, and as all of our partners are highly innovative, it's very easy to work with them on such proposals, and we're also very happy that we successfully submitted quite some already in the past. At the moment we have none of these projects running, because if you're in the business, you know that it's super difficult to get selected in the end. But still already this process is very helpful also in identifying future topics that we might look at the chair. And of course, recruitment option. The market in cybersecurity experts is very dense, and the PhD students at the chair, they know already the partners, and therefore it's at hand that when they finish, they consider going to the industry partners, and this is also something that happened in the past and will also surely happen in the future. And this is not only the PhD students at the chair, but this is also the additional events that we do, like PhD schools and so on, where the presence of the industry partners is, of course, making them present in the minds of the participants of our events, like today also, and this is also an advantage of being at the chair, obviously. Next one, neutral ground for exchange. We heard it also already in the testimonials. When you're working at the chair in your one company, it's a super easy way of engaging with another company, finding out, okay, we have this problem, can we openly discuss it in the surrounding of the chair? And yeah, you're looking into that, or we also have a need, or we're also looking into that, could we maybe partner in that area afterwards? And this, of course, also something that is interesting, being such an incubator of future collaborations also between the industry partners. Then the next item that is highly related to this neutral ground is our experimentation platform. So we have some cyber-physical experimentation platform with some robot arms that are controlled by industrial controllers, programmable logic controllers, and they are connected to an Airbus Cyber Range, so Nicolas was already talking about it, which enables us to have hybrid settings between physical installations and also virtualized installations, and this is very exciting because it enables us to instantiate various scenarios and do experimentation with it. And from February on, we'll also have a dedicated research engineer for working on that platform, and that is definitely something interesting. And the highlight of what I just said is really the cyber-physical part, because it enables us not only to emulate or simulate parts, but really to also manage having the ground truth through the physical equipment, plus also allows us to do research in the physical manipulation of something and also seeing the physical effects of attacks on industrial infrastructures. The next one is a French thing, which is in France we have the lucky situation that companies that are funding research get tax benefits from it, which is a non-negligible relevant issue as well. And the last point that I put here is the additional visibility, because as you see with events like today, we put the partners to the front, and therefore, yeah, this is also an important factor that we offer at our chair. And yeah, this is the picture from the last research update. So this is a part of the team, and as you see, nobody's crying, so that indicates that it might be not the worst environment to work in. Okay, so to use the remaining 1.5 minutes, so now we'll have the half a minute coffee break, and then afterwards the second session will be on the research, and in that one we'll have the 90 seconds per PhD student, and before I was just showing you that one here, but now I can go a little bit more into detail. So these are the topics. They are structured by axis. So we'll start by software-defined security for network function virtualization. Then we have security risk optimization for learning on data heterogeneous quality, digital twins, code ledger we heard already, federated learning, collaborative approaches to cybersecurity, security for mobile infrastructures, and then the last part will be on the interfaces and how we use them for professional cybersecurity operations. And yeah, as I said, now we heard the industry partners, so here I put some of the critical infrastructures that have to be considered when we talk about cybersecurity, and at the chair, luckily, we're already covering quite a range. What we're not covering at the moment is the health sector, for instance, so Veronique said it at the beginning, so this would definitely be something interesting also to cover. But in addition, we're really open to additional partners, getting in contact with them, discussing with our partners if it makes sense to add them to the chair. All right, so I hope you enjoyed the first part of the session. I hope to see many of you in the second part, and we'll reconvene at 11 o'clock in this room. Thank you very much, and see you soon. Super, merci. Ah ouais.
Par contre, j'ai vu dans la ribambelle des logos, il y avait SNCF. Alors soit ils l'ont mis en disant c'est des prospects.
À mon avis, c'est du fake. J'ai rien vu passer côté
Et pareil, enfin, les EDF, ils vont bientôt retirer le logo parce qu'on va leur dire on va pas. Parce qu'il y avait Futurible, le cabinet Futurible qui va faire une étude prospective, qui à mon sens est plutôt destinée effectivement à des acteurs qui voudraient en connaître, qui voudraient démarrer, avoir quelque chose. Du côté, il me semble qu'on a déjà.
un lien avec cela, ça m'intéresse.
Ouais.
J'allais voir un peu sur leur site, c'est étonnant qu'ils mettent le logo SNCF, à mon avis c'est par habitude
Mais en fait c'est le CEA frange technologie, la CEA Tech, donc les gens de Grenoble qui font l'innovation. Ils veulent créer un écosystème du quantique et on leur a dit ça existe déjà. Alors, par contre effectivement je pense que le CEA ils doivent essayer de recentrer, restructurer leur activité et la rendre plus visible. Je pense que c'est ça qui est en train de se passer.
So, as I said at the beginning, the second part of our session is dedicated to research and current cybersecurity challenges. We have the presentations of the PhD students first. And for those who are new, in the morning we already had a session about the industry partners, the role of the chair in the French European ecosystem. If you missed it, on the website Cyber CNI.fr, which is given here on the left, for instance, you find the live stream, so there you can watch it once again. This was a very interesting session with short testimonials from the industry partners and the region and the PEC, and also the IMT Atlantique. And the afternoon session is now dedicated, not afternoon session, I was the afternoon session, the after coffee break session is now dedicated to the research. So, the moment he arrives, we'll have Jerome Triadi, who is a regional counselor to the digital transformation. He's dedicated to that. He's an elected member of the French Council. I'll probably switch the two because Jerome will still arrive, so I will start then with the research activities of the chair, giving you a brief introduction. And then we have the PhD students with 90 seconds per thesis, which is of course very challenging, but at the same time it gives you a very good and very concise overview. And as I said it in the morning, on the website of the chair you find much longer presentations of 20 minutes of each research topic. And so do not hesitate to have a look there, to watch also these longer presentations. And this also to present you the president of the chair, Serge Maurice, who's just arriving. Okay, good. And at the end, not at the end, but in the second part, we have the round table. So we already have the chairs here for the round table, which will be on the topic how safe our critical infrastructures on the current geopolitical circumstances. More to that in about 25 minutes. So Jerome will speak the moment he arrives, and he'll get his 5 minutes. And now let me give you a brief introduction to the research topics that we have at the chair. So I organized the chair in 5 axes. The 3 first are the classical cybersecurity domains. Security by design, I want to secure everything as much as possible in advance of running a system, and also in anticipation of what will be happening. But I cannot anticipate everything because it might be that my system is in an environment where there are other systems that I've never thought of that they could be there. It might be that my system interacts with humans and so on, and therefore we need a dynamic part for also maintaining our resilience, having cybersecurity during operation of a system. And this is the second part, there we detect anomalies, so we look at does the system behave in the way that I want or not. If we detect it does not, or it might not, then we have mitigate. So what can we do? How can we put the system again in a state that we want to have? And the third X, and for all this we use the algorithms that I put here at the bottom. So current buzzwords are machine learning, of course, and distributed ledgers and digital twins. And so all of this we apply, of course, in these research directions. And then we have a 4th research direction, which is a vertical topic for me, or horizontal, however you put it, because all the other mechanisms here they require some interaction with users. Because when you do cybersecurity, you have to have situational awareness, you have to have risk analysis capabilities, so you have to be able to assess what will happen in the system, and you also have to be able to interact with the system in real time for reconfiguring it and putting it again into a state that you can use and that you want to have. The challenge is that it is very complex, and therefore we use VR, virtual reality technology, and Nicolas will tell us something about that at the end. The PhD students at the chair, as I told you in the first session, the chair is always funded in phases of 3 years, and the PhD students always get a contract of the full 3 years that their PhD takes in France. And here we have the students that are still in phase 2, are funded by the phase 2, and these here are funded by phase 3. The only interesting thing about that is that the funding of the positions comes from different sources, so in the end all are present and all are working together on the topics. And yeah, so as Jerome is arriving, I'm very happy to welcome Jerome Trelli, and I introduced him already before, but I do it again to give you some seconds to settle down. So Jerome Trelli is an elected member of the Regional Council of Brittany, and he is dedicated or responsible for activities around the digital transformation and around cybersecurity, and therefore he's the perfect person to speak to us about the relation between the Brittany region and the chair, the relevance of the chair in the ecosystem, cybersecurity ecosystem of Brittany, of France, of Europe, the role of cybersecurity in Europe, and yeah, whenever you're ready, I give you the microphone. And thank you very much for coming.
Merci beaucoup. Alors je vais parler en français. J'avais pas préparé mon petit...
Non, pas de souci. On a fait aussi le matin qui était en français.
Ok, super, parfait, très bien. Bonjour à toutes et à tous. Donc, Jérôme Tréhardy, conseiller régional délégué à la cybersécurité. Je suis ravi d'être parmi vous aujourd'hui. Je tiens à m'excuser parce que je devais intervenir un peu plus tôt aujourd'hui, mais il y a eu la venue du ministre du numérique auquel j'ai dû assister. Donc voilà, et puis j'avais une signature d'une charte avec les réservistes. Donc voilà, donc une matinée un peu dense, mais c'était très important pour moi de pouvoir être présent aujourd'hui, en tout cas pour partager un petit mot avec vous. Partager un mot déjà pour vous dire que c'est effectivement extrêmement important pour nous cette chaire et vous expliquer un peu pourquoi on a décidé de s'impliquer fortement dedans. Alors, vous dire, je vais me permettre de donner un petit peu un contexte pour réexpliquer pourquoi la cybersécurité c'est important. Là, on est sur un sujet très technique, mais avant tout, de réexpliquer que pour le Conseil régional et son président Loïc Chenet-Girard, la cybersécurité est avant tout un enjeu de démocratie et de souveraineté. Je me permets de rappeler ça parce que je pense qu'il ne faut pas qu'on perde de vue pourquoi on fait les choses. Et qu'on est tous concernés, que dès qu'il y a un numérique, il y a un risque cyber, et qu'il est important donc de protéger les citoyennes et les citoyens. J'intervenais à la radio ce matin et je rappelais ce fondamental là. Alors quand ça s'est dit, il faut rappeler qu'on a la chance d'être sur un territoire qui est extrêmement dense dans l'écosystème de la cyber. On pourrait parler des entreprises, du monde de l'innovation, de la recherche, le monde de la formation, de la présence du militaire. Enfin, je pense que vous êtes tous bien au courant de ça, donc je ne vais pas trop m'étendre dessus. Mais il n'en demeure pas moins qu'on a un des enjeux cruciaux, qui est l'enjeu de la formation et l'enjeu de la recherche. Et donc, tout ce qui va permettre de pouvoir créer des ponts entre les différents acteurs de l'écosystème de la cyber est important. Et donc c'est vrai qu'une chaire qui est en fait un lieu qui permet de rencontre entre le monde public et le monde privé est à mes yeux quelque chose d'extrêmement important. Alors moi, pour vous parler un peu de moi, je suis entrepreneur à côté dans le numérique, c'est un premier engagement politique. Donc je découvre ces passerelles nécessaires entre le monde privé et le monde public et je pense qu'on n'en fait pas assez. Et je pense que là-dessus, les anglo-saxons sont très bons. Et je pense que d'avoir justement des outils comme cette chaire doivent nous permettre d'être meilleurs demain et de pouvoir puiser le meilleur des deux mondes. Et c'est un peu le message que je veux porter aujourd'hui. Et c'est pourquoi c'est si important pour nous de voir se développer ce type de projet. et en plus de ça qui est porté par l'IMT Atlantique, et je crois que j'étais présent lors de l'inauguration, c'est ça, de votre bâtiment, je me remémorais les choses, où je pense que j'ai vu pas mal de choses qui étaient jouées sur la chaire CNI, on est d'accord, ouais. Donc je me souviens très bien de ça. Et donc je pense que c'est extrêmement important d'avoir sur le territoire ces endroits d'excellence pour la recherche, parce que derrière aussi il y a cette notion de formation. Et donc voilà. Je ne vais pas être plus long parce que je pense que j'ai dit l'essentiel. Et voilà, en tout cas, je crois que c'est une journée entière qui est sur cette... une demi-journée, d'accord, donc on ne sait pas bientôt la fin. Donc en tout cas, j'espère que vous avez bien profité de ces débuts de demi-journée, en tout cas de profiter de cette fin. Voilà, je vous souhaite de très bons échanges. En tout cas, merci beaucoup de m'avoir accueilli et on est vraiment sincèrement ravis au nom du Conseil régional de faire partie de cette belle initiative. Voilà, merci beaucoup.
Merci beaucoup. Thank you very much. And what you said is perfect because it summarized very well also what we talked about in the morning. And it's always also it's a pleasure and privilege working with the Brittany region because through the Protex Cyber and also through the Brittany region, we really have access to the entire ecosystem of actors from the different concerned domains, which is in the end everything, but also the companies and the institutional actors, politics and so on. And this is also a field that is extremely difficult to access, and therefore I'm super grateful. And I want to also thank explicitly Annie Odik, who is perfect exchange partner all the time. And thank you very much. And also Jerome, thank you very much for having taken the time, because I know that you're super busy. And thanks a lot. Okay, perfect. So then let's quickly get back to where I've been. So as I've introduced you the 4 axes that we're working on, it's logic to structure all the presentations in the 4 axes. And therefore, we'll start with the prevent axis. And our first speaker will be Manel Smin. And Manel, je te donne la parole. I don't know if you present in English or French, as you prefer.
Merci Marc-Oliver. Bonjour à tous, je suis Manel Smin, doctorante en 3e année. Donc je travaille dans cette thèse sur l'amélioration du niveau de sécurité au niveau des infrastructures qui sont basées sur NFV. Pour atteindre cet objectif, nous avons commencé par étudier les menaces et les vulnérabilités qui peuvent exister sur les infrastructures NFV. Donc l'étude de la littérature nous a permis de se rendre compte que les infrastructures NFV souffrent de plusieurs menaces et de sécurité, menaces et vulnérabilités de sécurité. Donc, nous, ce qu'on a fait, donc, on a essayé d'améliorer donc l'étude de la... Pardon. Donc l'étude de la littérature nous a permis de se rendre compte que toutes les infrastructures NFV souffrent de plusieurs menaces et vulnérabilités. Ces menaces peuvent être évitées en utilisant les techniques de contrôle d'accès. Donc la première question sur laquelle nous avons travaillé dans cette thèse est comment définir une méthode qui est à la fois efficace, expressive et correcte pour permettre un déploiement qui peut satisfaire les politiques mixtes et complexes. Donc, dans cette thèse, nous avons conçu un framework permettant tout d'abord de spécifier les exigences en termes de contrôle d'accès qu'on doit déployer sur les infrastructures virtualisées. Dans un deuxième temps, nous avons déployé ou définir un modèle qui permet de déployer les politiques de contrôle d'accès qui sont mixtes et complexes. Et dans un troisième temps, nous avons amélioré ce modèle pour permettre un déploiement optimal en termes des ressources utilisées et l'impact sur le service NFV.
Super, merci beaucoup Manal. Et Manal va aussi défendre, je pense, le 5 décembre, donc le lien va aussi être sur le site web, donc voilà, cordiale invitation. Le prochain, c'est Hassan Chaitou, he's at Telecom Paris, and Hassan will tell us something about optimization of security risk for learning on heterogeneous data, and the floor is yours.
Okay, hello everyone. So my name is Hassan Chaitou. I'm a third year PhD student at Telecom Paris. So have you ever been in a situation where you believe that your computer network is secure, but the fact is something else? So we know that we have an intrusion detection system, which is a crucial tool to protect the network. Nowadays, machine learning and deep learning is widely used in machine learning and deep learning IDSs to overcome the shortcoming of the traditional IDSs, the signature-based IDSs. However, machine learning models are proven to be vulnerable to adversarial attacks. And in order to protect against adversarial attacks, there are many tools or methods that are provided in the literature, such as adversarial training. Adversarial training consists of integrating adversarial examples of attacks into the training dataset of the intrusion detection system. This method proved to be the efficacy of against such an attack. However, this dataset enriched is not studied well in the cybersecurity community. So in our research, in this PhD research, we studied the dataset quality and enrichment. And one of the findings that we found that get back to the question that I started with. So adversarial training, as I said, it gives us a good performance against the whole population of adversarial attack examples. But in our research, we found that there's a small set of this adversarial example that the detection performance for the IDS is catastrophic. Again, so in one of our work of PhD is to define the risk and provide a countermeasure against this risk.
Super, thank you very much, Hassan. And as said at the beginning, so the idea is also that if you're interested in discussing more, approach the students afterwards. And besides that, on the website you also find the much longer presentations. The next one we have on stage is Zainab Rahal, and she's also a PhD student at Telecom Sud Paris, I think. And yeah, Zainab, the floor is yours.
Hello, my name is Zainab Rahal. I'm a second year PhD student at Telecom Sud Paris. My thesis topic is digital twins for cybersecurity. So one of the applications of digital twins is 5G networks, which are vulnerable to cyber attacks. And this includes attacks against network slicing, which are key enablers of 5G networks. And AI-based solutions exist to defend from such attacks. Also, the use of digital twins can improve this detection through its virtualization and continuous synchronization capabilities. So in the thesis, we intend to test this approach, the AI approaches, by using a real digital twin of 5G networks, which learns and augments attacks and detects and mitigates them, like it trains existing detection mechanisms, and then mitigates them and allows the evaluation of optimal countermeasures and the automatic selection of the optimal countermeasure.
Perfect, thank you very much. And the next one is Luis Sorero, and he's a PhD student at Telecom Paris. So yeah, the logo is good again. And Luis, the floor is yours.
Okay, hello everybody. I'm working with the PhD thesis related to code ledger, which is related to knowing and tracking the origin of our open source code. Today, people estimate that over 90% of all software in the world uses or depends on some open source components. And those components depend on other open source components, which depend on other open source components, and so on, forming a huge open source supply chain that is also distributed geographically, physically, in a very chaotic network of repositories. So how does a developer know if the software he's or she is building right now contains only dependable components? That's what we are looking at study. There is also some existing solutions to help a little bit with that, but there are open gaps and there are missing things, and we are going to study and try to discover and propose novel ideas to handle that, to track the software.
Very good, thank you very much. And that brings us to the second axis, detect. Between detect and mitigate, there's always some similar methods and so on. And so therefore, in the second axis, we have one student. We also have a second student who's doing sound-based anomaly detection, but he is in his honeymoon at the moment, luckily for him, unluckily for us, because he can then not present. And yeah, for the detect axis, we have Leo Lavard, who is with us at IMT Atlantique, and he does a series on ferret learning for defending cyber attacks. And Leo, the floor is yours.
Bonjour à tous. Oui, moi je m'appelle Léo Lavant. L'objet de ma thèse, c'est d'essayer de faire collaborer des organisations pour améliorer leur sécurité, en particulier avec des mécanismes de détection d'intrusion basés sur du machine learning. Pour ça, je m'appuie sur une technologie qui s'appelle Federated Learning, donc apprentissage fédéré, dont l'objectif est de permettre à plein d'organisations d'apprendre sur leurs données locales, d'améliorer leur propre système de détection d'intrusion et de partager leurs connaissances sous la forme de modèles et non pas de données. Cette technologie elle nous permet de créer des systèmes collaboratifs, mais qui vont respecter des contraintes fortes de confidentialité, puisque les données ne sont jamais partagées et ne quittent jamais le système du participant. L'étude de la littérature elle nous a fait identifier un certain nombre de directions de recherche. Moi, ce qui m'intéresse en particulier, c'est l'hétérogénéité des organisations. Vous imaginez bien que deux organisations vont être très différentes en fonction de leur réseau, etc. Et ça va induire des grosses problématiques sur comment est-ce qu'on va agréger les modèles et créer quelque chose d'efficace pour tout le monde. Deuxième aspect, c'est la confiance. Un système collaboratif qui doit supporter la sécurité de l'entreprise, c'est absolument critique. Donc il faut qu'on puisse attribuer la confiance aux participants et à la fois être capable d'évaluer les contributions et qu'est-ce qu'on va utiliser pour notre système. Et enfin, il y a une grosse problématique autour de la reproducibilité des expérimentations et la représentativité des datasets qui sont utilisés. Et donc on travaille avec la chaire, avec Marc-Oliver et avec le testbed dont il a un petit peu parlé tout à l'heure pour essayer de construire des datasets et des outils pour évaluer ce type d'approche. Et puis voilà, je vous remercie pour votre attention.
And that brings us already at the third axis, and the third axis is mitigate. And for the third axis, we have as first person interacting Loic. Is Loic present? It seems Loic is not present. Then we can switch directly to the second, which is Nisrin. So Loic, as he said, not present himself. So he is doing collaborative cybersecurity. So he is looking at distributed ledgers. Blockchain is one instance of that. How can you use distributed ledgers in order to improve cybersecurity, in order to collaborate in a way that you have such a distributed source of trust? Okay, so that's him. And here's Nisrin, and Nisrin is also with us at IMT Atlantique, and she's working on securing mobile infrastructures. And here's a microphone, Nisrin, and the floor is yours.
Okay, hello everybody. I'm Dr. Nisrin Ibada. I had my PhD on computer science and telecommunication about smart approaches on realistic mobility modeling of wireless sensor networks. So now with IMT Atlantique, a collaboration with primarily railways operator, French railway operator SNCF, we are working on cybersecurity of critical mobile infrastructures. So for us, firstly, we made the state of art about issues, problems, and challenges, the timeline of the diverse cyber attacks, the quality norms and certifications. And we observe that among these challenges, we have the main problem is how we can remotely update software, especially with a diverse kind of trains, a multiple number of versions of softwares. So that's our main challenges in order to reduce the costs, minimizing the moving of employees, to the delay of updates per a holic number of train, all that in order to make a predictive maintenance. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And that brings us to the fourth axis, which is human in the loop. And there we have two students. Nicolas Delcombel has faced two students, so he's close to finishing. And with Anthony David, who just started. Unluckily, Anthony has to do some teaching today. So he's teaching on immersive interfaces. And therefore, Nicolas will do both presentations. And with that said, Nicolas, I give you the floor. The topic of Nicolas is cybersecurity en réalité virtuelle. And you have the 90 seconds.
Ok, merci Marc-Oliver. Donc bonjour tout le monde. Je m'appelle Nicolas, je suis en dernière année de thèse au sein de la chaire. Et comme Marc-Oliver le disait, je fais de la cybersécurité en réalité virtuelle. Le but, c'est de permettre aux êtres humains qui font la cybersécurité de comprendre les données avec lesquelles ils interagissent. Donc je suis vraiment dans la partie Human in the Loop. Et donc pour ça, j'utilise des interfaces immersives pour permettre en particulier aux opérateurs des SOC de comprendre les données avec lesquelles ils travaillent le plus rapidement et le plus efficacement possible. Donc au sein de ma thèse, j'ai commencé par mener des expériences qui comparaient des interfaces immersives avec des interfaces 2D de l'état de l'art, pour montrer que dans certains cas, quand les données deviennent de plus en plus complexes, les interfaces immersives permettent aux opérateurs d'être plus efficaces que les interfaces classiques. Donc ces premiers résultats, déjà, ils ont permis de montrer la pertinence de notre approche, mais aussi ils m'ont permis de discuter avec des experts du métier qui m'ont expliqué qu'ils avaient aussi besoin d'un tout un contexte en plus de juste certaines visualisations, et aussi d'avoir accès à leurs outils classiques pour alimenter ces visualisations. Et c'est pour ça que dans la suite de ma thèse, je travaille à intégrer les outils 2D classiques des opérateurs cyber au sein des environnements immersifs pour leur permettre d'avoir leur workflow habituel et ensuite de l'améliorer à l'aide de visualisations immersives.
Super, merci beaucoup. And as already announced, the second student, and they are both working closely together in Brest with Thierry Duval and me as their supervisors. The second is immersive cybersecurity by Anthony David, and Nicolas will also present this one right now, and the floor is again yours.
Yes, merci. Oui, donc Anthony David a commencé sa thèse en début d'année, donc évidemment, comme nos thèses sont similaires, on travaille ensemble à Brest pour réaliser des interfaces immersives. La différence, en fait, c'est que Anthony, lui, va plus se baser non pas sur quelle visualisation utiliser en fonction de quelles données, mais va aussi chercher à utiliser l'espace immersif pour permettre au personnel cyber de collaborer ensemble plus efficacement. Quand je dis personnel cyber, ça va être des opérateurs qui vont essayer de travailler entre eux sur un challenge technique, mais ça peut être aussi des outils de reporting pour partir du technique jusqu'au management et de pouvoir comprendre donc, ce qui se passe le long de la chaîne cyber. Et pour ça, il va essayer de développer des visualisations plus abstraite et multimodale, donc ne pas utiliser juste la représentation visuelle, mais aussi tous nos sens pour permettre de comprendre le plus intuitivement possible ce qui se passe sur les réseaux que l'on protège, et pour permettre donc de prendre des décisions les plus efficaces possibles. Et voilà, j'ai fini un peu tôt, mais c'est pas ma thèse.
Merci beaucoup aussi pour cette présentation. And so now you have a really quick overview on all the 4 axes and the topics that are currently running. As I said at the beginning, we're also recruiting. So we have one thesis in REN working on cybersecurity via testbed honeypot. We have one thesis working on digital twins for cybersecurity. And we have one thesis which will be in BREST, and this will be on trust in artificial intelligence using watermarking and other technologies. And if you're interested in one of these topics, do not hesitate to approach us. The offerings will also be on the website, and Fabienne also has the sheets giving information about these posts. And if you know friends who might be interested in joining what you now know a little bit better, our chair, please share the information. And of course, participate also in the speaker series, which is online once a month. Then when you go to Talk Cyber CNI.fr, you can also subscribe to the newsletter where you get the announcements, and same thing for our website. If you want to stay up to date with the activities that we do on the website, the subscribe button is the best option for that. Okay, the students I was around, we also had the stand 8 in the ground floor level with the demonstration of the immersive interface. So if you want to try it out, please come there. And we also have a robot arm that is there as a demonstration. So that brings us to the next program item, which is our panel discussion. And maybe Fabienne, you can check a bit with the chairs and the panelists maybe also. So I would say we put the chairs maybe here. Then maybe you can also help. Maybe put the chair back here, the table back, and then put the chairs here in a circle. We are 6. So when I was planning the panel, I was thinking what could be a very interesting topic for us. And indeed, a very interesting topic is that with the war in Ukraine that we currently have, we see that infrastructures that we did not consider like so easily breakable, like windmills. This is what you would see here in the back. If the color spectrum would be a little bit bigger. Trains, there was a famous incident in Germany for the windmills also, that might be related to the war or not, but in any case, it's many more infrastructures we saw before. Okay, they are not at big risk because they're working for 30 years or 100 years or even more. We see that they are at risk. The infrastructure, like the Starlink, seems essential for the war in Ukraine, and so if the internet infrastructure is not there, if you don't have a global positioning system or an equivalent for positioning yourself, obviously these are all problems, and that shows that for all infrastructures, but especially also the critical infrastructures, we really depend on cyber security. And in the text, you have it in the program, I wrote that the recent geopolitical developments show us once more how fragile our critical infrastructures are. With the outbreak of the war in Ukraine, diverse disruptions in systems such as energy production or communication occurred. And in the panel, we'll discuss the new threat potential that we are facing. And yeah, that's it. Let's just do that. I am looking forward to welcome on stage our panelists. Let me maybe introduce them, and when I introduce you, you can take your seat. So the first one on our panel is Cyril Capy, who is the Vice President Research and Development at the Fédération Française de la Cybersécurité. And the aim of the French Federation of Cybersecurity is to bring together more than 10,000 professionals, all business organizations, professional organizations, companies, individuals, and more broadly, all direct or indirect players in French cybersecurity while respecting their diversity to provide them with support and services useful for their operation. The Cybersecurity Federation wishes to promote the image of French cybersecurity activities, promote the exchange of ideas, as well as the closest possible collaboration between cybersecurity organizations and make known the point of view of entrepreneurs, users, and stakeholders on subjects directly or indirectly concerned their activities. More specifically, within the Research and Development College, Cyril helps SMEs and startups to increase innovation, respond and find funding by responding to cybersecurity tenders on France 2030. He's one of the designers of the cartography to highlight the cyber research ecosystem in France. So please give Cyril a warm applause. Please give him a warm applause. The next panelist is Gianluca Manuccini. He is the director of the Direction of System Information, Infrastructures, Technologies and Innovation in Tuscany region. He's an electrical engineer from electronics engineer from 1999 to 2003. He's responsible for research and training for universities and national telecommunication companies on wireless and optical IP communication networks. In 2002, he worked at the IBM Zurich Research Laboratory on the IEEE 802.11.e standard. In 2003, after completing his PhD in telematics and the Information Society, he joined the municipality of Florence as IT project manager. Then, from 2011 to 2021, he managed the IT infrastructure development office in Florence municipality, leading several digital innovations and transformation projects for citizens. In 2021, he joined the region of Tuscany government as Chief Information Officer and as the Director of IMT Department. A warm applause for Gianluca. Our next panelist is Eric Labouret, and he is working at Nokia. He's the Head of Business Operation Managed Security Services at Nokia. Eric Labouret has over 20 years of experience in manufacturing and telecommunications. Eric acquired strong expertise in the service industry by leading large outsourcing and transformation deals throughout Europe among CSPs. Technology evolutions over the last decade highlighted the need for increased security in telecom industry and critical infrastructure in general, and Eric progressively moved to cybersecurity services. Eric is now working in Nokia Cybersecurity Services business unit as head of business operations, looking after worldwide activities of Nokia in cyber services. A warm applause for Eric. And our next panelist is Alban Odrejček. He is co-founder and CTO and speaker at Another Way. And Alban is of Another Way. And Another Way is a company that is specialized in people protecting and cyber human intelligence. Previously, he was an engineer in electronic warfare. Then he worked 8 years as a French intelligence officer specialized on the human intelligence, or HAMINT, which might be that, I'm not familiar with the term. And then 10 years as a cyber defense expert within Orange Business Group. A warm applause for Alban. And last but not least, we have Reda Yai. He's a senior researcher and specialist in cybersecurity and artificial intelligence at SystemX, and he's holds a PhD from the École Mines of Saint-Etienne and a Master of Science from the University of South Paris. Reda is currently the head of cybersecurity and networks at the IRT SystemX, a French Institute of Technology. Also a warm applause for Reda. Okay, so let me briefly check if the camera is covering everybody. It generally is, but could one of you possibly turn the camera just a little bit to the right? No, to the left. No, okay. Okay. Other side. A little bit more. Stop. Okay, that's good. Okay, perfect. Good. Okay, so when we discussed a little bit how we will organize the panel, as we don't have enormously amount of time, so we have about 20 minutes left, we came up with the idea of structuring it into 4 questions, and the format will be that we'll go through the panelists and then they will give a statement to it. And if we find time later, we'll also go a little bit deeper into something. And yeah, So the first question that is interesting to us is, how did the attack surface change over the past 7 years? I put, because I would say 5 years is always a little bit short, but 7 years is a good time span. Eric, behind you is the microphone. Eric, behind you. Oh, yeah, perfect. So, yeah, you can start. If you want, if not, give it rather to the left or right side.
Yeah, or actually, I would say that in the telecom industry, the last 5 years already saw a lot of changes. Actually, I don't even need to go back to 7 years to see many things happening. Among the main changes that we could see, and that was coming probably together with the 4G LTE technology, is that first, IT protocols progressively replaced, not totally, but they largely replaced a lot of the traditional, historical, proprietary protocols, such as SS7, for instance. And so in the past, CSPs were kind of protected by the fact that they were, let's say, hiding between proprietary equipment, software, etc., and protocols that very few experts in the world were understanding and where they were experts in. But so that did change with the arrival of the IT protocols. Another evolution together with that is that, as I just said, telco were historically based on proprietary hardware, software, and that changed as well. Okay, due to the pressure of the CSP and the market for cost reductions. So we saw the arrival of all or many open source modules within the telco equipment, and this as well exposed the market to a large community of experts, hacking experts, unfortunately, instead of having only telecom experts for building the networks. So that's also a very big change that we could acknowledge. And more recently, I would say, you have also the cloudification of the telco networks. And when I say telco networks, by the way, I don't mean only the mobile networks, okay? I really mean all telecommunication equipment used for fiber, for home connectivity, for large enterprise, etc. But so for all of this, we see now the cloudification, and this also introduces several layers, a lot of IT standards as well. And as soon as we introduce this kind of well-known behaviors, protocols, and software modules, you expose yourself to a larger community of attackers. So that's definitely a very strong trend, and exposing a lot. And maybe the last thing that I can mention, to go quickly, is that we see also over the last, especially this is last 3 or 4 years, a much wider usage of telco for critical usage. And this is also increasing not only the attack surface, because you have more critical applications and more critical usage as such, but also because it does attract a lot more people in hacking these kind of systems. And that's only the beginning, to be honest, because now we have the 5G with higher complexity, a much higher number of equipment as well. You have also Open RAN, you have, what else? Okay, the eSIMs as well. So all this will introduce new threats in the upcoming future, and that will impact not only CSPs and your own life, but also large enterprise, like in transportation, for instance.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you very much. Ivan, do you want to continue?
Yes, for sure.
Great.
About the change of the attack surface too. So yes. Yeah, of course. So I've seen a change about attack surface about people exposure, because now you have a lot of data breaches that are exposed on social networks and so on. So attackers now adapt their techniques of attack to people, to target people. So I have seen, particularly in Ukraine, that now you have a lot of psychological pressure, because now we can tell you that, oh, you employee of SNCF or so on, I know about you, I know about your wife and your kids, And it's not very funny because now they say, I will rob them, I will kill them if you don't do what I want. So I say that for Ukraine, but it could be the same here in France or in Europe. So we can see disinformation to make loss of reputation and loss of cash, of course. I see a lot of disinformation coming from Russia or attackers or hackers. The fact they use all data breaches to tell that this critical company makes a lot of bad things. Maybe I have seen, for instance, a file telling that French people was working for critical infrastructure in Ukraine, but it was fake, in fact. So this was all data breaches, all ransomware of Peugeot garage in France. But it was employees of Peugeot, is not French people working for the army in Ukraine. So it makes a lot of disinformation about the real threats of level of threats against your infrastructure. And the third point is that I can see, not in Ukraine but in France, but we can see a lot against a critical infrastructure and company in the US, that attackers target your providers or target your human resources servers to make data breaches, personal data breaches, and then victims make a class actions against your company, asking for a lot of millions, and this is a very loss of cash for your company. Maybe it's okay for SNCF or Nokia or EDF, but it's not okay for the smaller one or smallest one. For instance, a company has been attacked like that, 2.5 million victims, asking for $200 million of compensation. So it's a lot.
Very good. And yeah, really, you can take the mic. And in the meantime, the very nice thing about the panel is that we have really diverse panelists. Therefore, I also spend quite a time of introducing them, because therefore we really get different perspectives, as we've already seen. So really, I give you.
Okay, yeah, just some few words about this acceleration of the threat, and I agree that we don't need to go back to 7 years, and I'll probably go back to 2 years, because we have been witnessing an acceleration. I think the widening of the surface attack goes with the digitalization. So we have a widening of digitalization in our societies that is covering most of our life. Now digitalization goes to our home, to critical infrastructure, to our transport systems. So the wider we go, the wider the surface attack is, and probably the deeper also we go. Now we have even in our cars hotspots, Wi-Fi hotspots. So yeah, I think it's going deeper and wider. And I'll probably note one game changer is the remote work with the COVID pandemic situation that opened doors, so creates a legitimate breach in our systems. And the fact that also in our homes we have a lot of digitalization with domotic systems, with Alexa and Google stuff and so on. So we have now overlapping domains to cover, and creates a lot of breach in our systems and going from our home to critical infrastructures. And I think, yeah, I will probably note this this aspect. And the other aspect, independently from our system, probably the professionalization of the attackers. We have less amateurs and script kiddies, we have more professionals and state-sponsored attackers.
Mm-hmm. Okay, cool. Yeah, thank you very much. So next, maybe Gianluca.
Yeah, from the point of view of our region, actually we saw an impressive and disruptive moment with pandemic first, which, as you said before, with smart working, suddenly put thousands of employees and workers working from home, so in a different context, maybe with less attention to some security concerns because of the emergency of the pandemic, so everyone was focused on maintaining the public service to citizens, so this was a very critical moment. And then I see also the change of attacks in terms of motivation of the attack. So we are changing from demonstrative or ethical hacking to ransom to cyber war. So it's getting, and also focused more and more on governments. So these couple of years saw this evolution also. No? And plus also with pandemic we had an incredible boost of relevance of IT in all public services. So many things that were done without IT now are done only with IT. And so we need to, well, we discuss about later what can we do, but we need to change attitude.
Okay, very, very interesting to hear that perspective. And Cyril.
Yes, I will just precise that I have the double IT from SNCF and the Fédération Française de la Cybersécurité, and right now I just talk about Fédération Française de la Cybersécurité. So I follow up the remarks of Reda about the digitalization. I don't like speak about attack surface, but more about digitalization surface. Why? Because this is the digitalization is the way to the modernity. So we need to develop the digitalization in all industries, for large industries, but for small and medium enterprise too. And to add my point of view, I think we moved from the IT perimeter to the OT, operational technologies perimeter. It's true for large industries, but for small and medium enterprise too. And we move from local perimeter to cloud perimeter. This is an opportunity of modernity, but there is a lot of issues with this delocalization. So the surface attack increase, and it will be more and more in the next years. And we need to provide a solution to get a robust protection for the economic industries.
Yeah, very, very nice. While you start thinking about already the next two questions, which we'll combine, which are what changed on the types and techniques of the attackers, and what changed on the types and techniques of the defenders. I already give a quick summary again, because there will surely bond with that. So Egg was talking about a lot of open source, tech was getting involved in more and more. We have codification, everything gets IP, we have standards, therefore the attacking is easier because they all use the same protocols. I was focusing on the people exposure. There also ransomware, that information is exposed, so maybe because we didn't have privacy in the first place, or because there were attacks and therefore they got something. We have these false information that is distributed also for attacking. The reader was talking about acceleration of attacks. Everything is getting digital. We have integration of digital things in everything. Remote work, also a very important aspect, and also the professionalization of the attackers. So we'll probably go into that a little bit more in that second question now. Gianluca was also speaking on the remote work, and also about an interesting aspect, which is the change of attitude. So while you might have had hackers that were rather white hat in the sense that they wanted to support you as a company, now you rather have black hat hackers that really want to do ransomware and make some money. And also the aspect of digitizing the government with maybe not necessarily the necessary stuff in order to do that in the highest cybersecurity way that would be necessary. And Cyril was adding the delocalization of the attack surface, also that we have the digitization that is pervading all domains, that we go from IT to OT, which is always a very important point, because when you think about OT, you always think about the robot arm with the chainsaw that is next to you, and at the next moment it can kill you. That means it now has really physical impacts, these attacks on the infrastructure, and also on the role of the company size regarding the cybersecurity aspects, how much they can invest, where SMEs might be more at risk or not. Okay, very interesting and very good, because it's very cool, different points of views with different notions that we already heard. And so now let's go to the change of types and techniques of the attackers and defenders, and let's just go in inverse order, and let's start with Cyril, if you want.
Yes, for sure. The word here is the sophistication of the attacks. We saw during the last years that attackers improve the way to attack. I will just to take one simple example. Is not is probably the most important effect today is the phishing phenomenon. During the last decade, we saw the phishing phenomenon with probably suspicious email, but it was easy to find that it was a suspicious email because you have mistakes, you have sometimes a problem with the logo of the industries. It was easy. So now the new phishing is very relevant because it's very difficult to distinguish that it was a suspicious email. Sometimes really perfect. You need to become an expert of the phishing to detect that is phishing. Another techniques is the smishing. The smishing is the same phenomenon from phishing, but on your smartphone device. Today, we have in France 60 million of smartphone device, and when you use day-to-day your phone, you receive a lot of SMS, you read quickly and respond quickly, and you could click on the suspicious link. And it's a new problem that we need to tackle, and I think this kind of methods improve because there is behind the attackers, like the shell, there is certainly a research for the attacks, and we need to face from this.
Very good point. Gianluca.
Yeah, from my point of view, the human part was the weakest chain of security 10, 15 years ago, and it is now. So from this point of view, not much is changed. So the attack, phishing, as was mentioned right now, and also smishing is also involving the human, so the weakest part. So regarding from the attack perspective, I don't think things have changed so much. They are more sophisticated, of course, and more difficult to distinguish. From the defense perspective, I think things are changing, even in governments, in all parts. First, I see faster communication now, so across national, regional, and local levels. So we have understood the importance of talking, not getting silos, information silos, and exchanging information regarding attacks and so on. So this is something that 2 or 3 years ago was not happening. And then the relevance of correlation of events, so also thanks to AI or big data, and also the relevance of procedures. We need more and more and more to bring cybersecurity in our daily procedures, and it needs to be structured, not happening casually, but really more and more structured in all the processes, so organizational, public services, but also software life cycle, more and more. And last but not least, the awareness and the skills, of course. So we are now working a lot at all levels in skills, mainly on cybersecurity, at all levels, so citizens, schools, but also employees of public and private sector. So these are things that are changing in the defense part.
Very nice notion. Hila.
Thanks. Yeah, I think I will cover both attack and defense perspectives. So from the attack perspective, I think that there's, I agree with sophistication. There's a lot of resources that are available for attackers to understand how system happens. Social engineering is becoming, we reach a higher level for social engineering with deepfakes. We can now talk with fake videos, fake voices. So I think we can easily collect information, but also trigger a part of the attack with the social engineering that reach a higher level. I think AI-powered also attack is something will change a lot of things, accelerating, automating a lot of things that the attack can do, reusing, changing the malwares quickly as soon as they get detected. So I think AI is a game changer for both defense and attack. And there's also, for the attacker, there's a lot of things that are new that he can play with, for the digital twins, IoT, so there's a lot of things that need to be covered by defense. So attacker, unfortunately, are still way ahead from the defense. But I agree with the defense part that we have more collaboration. We have now well-established framework procedures. We need to go further, deeper. We have NIS at the European level, NIS 2 soon, or released. So I think we have now more incitations and even regulation that will help us reach a higher level. And what's good also is that cybersecurity is becoming mainstream. Everybody knows now about cybersecurity threats, and people are becoming more sensitive to the message. But still, we are doing awareness and training for patterns that was done 5 years ago. So I think we need to continue on this awareness initiative and bring the human factor also up front.
Very nice.
Yes, of course, I do agree with you, Cyril, about phishing and smishing, more relevant and more efficient. But the fact is that it's not only about massive phishing and smishing. Now, phishing and smishing are more targeted. Why? Because we said that professionalization, of attackers who exploit now open source intelligence to target you, to know you about your hobbies, your friends, and so on, and make very specific targeted phishing or smishing. And of course, we have developed a lot of technical measures to detect phishing and so on your email and so on. But it's not only about technical measures now, it's about to mitigate and to know about our own exposure on the cyber side, about what we expose on social networks, what data is breached about ourselves, okay? So to mitigate this exposure, because if attackers have no more easily data access on cyber, it will be it will be more complicated for them to target you, okay? So we have to take into account this point. It's not about technical measure when phishing comes in your IT, but before that. So that's why, of course, it's about awareness and so on, but very specifically teach people how to mitigate their exposure and know what is their exposure. And when we show employees' exposure to a Chief Information Security Officer, when we show passwords, leaked passwords, and so on, often Chief Information Security Officer tells me that, okay, it's not a concern, I don't know how to manage that, So what else? I'm not okay about telling him that, okay, but we have to know. We have to manage that. So maybe it's not about the size of concern, but maybe it's about now VP concerns, and VP has to take into account this part of cybersecurity. It's not only about CISO, but it's about people, so it's about VP concerns.
Very nice. Eric.
Yeah. So as I said actually earlier, initially the profiles of the hackers on telecommunication networks were mainly initiated by state organizations, whoever they are. Okay, but indeed they used to have experts to work on these proprietary protocols, hardware, etc. So we used to have some, not to name them, some Chinese events. We had this SS7 or diameter protocols attacks in the past. But with the arrival of these IT protocol software, etc., then we saw emerging some individuals, because they were just coming from IT, but very quickly they indeed moved to larger criminal organizations in order to basically to invest millions in this hacking organization, in these hacking teams, so that they launched these sophisticated attacks. And in parallel of these strong organizations, criminal, we also see indeed, especially over the last 2 years, I would say, a very strong activity among state attacks, clearly. Even though, at least in Western Europe, we only see a very quick peak after the beginning of Ukraine war, and then it's stabilized more or less, but it's always still increasing. But at least it's not a surge as we were all afraid, actually. Then in terms of attacks, I would say that over the last years, we saw an increase, a significant increase of DDoS attacks. So that's still a very strong phenomena. Even earlier this year, we saw some CSPs in Europe down for quite a long time due to this kind of attacks. So that's still a very serious thing. For the telecom protocols, it's stabilizing in Western countries, but still increasing in Asia. So that's still a very strong event as well. And of course, then we have the emerging ransomware interest. We saw it recently with Optus in Australia, for instance. So that's very strong interest. But to come back on the phishing segment, and especially the smishing, that's also a concern for all these pipes, these telco pipes, because, for instance, with the, let's say, with this flu-bot type attacks, then not only the device is compromised, but it's also actually damaging the signaling layer of the telco networks. It's jamming them, so that's also a concern for CSPs and large enterprises, because they can be suddenly overwhelmed with this kind of traffic. And in terms of defense, I would say that technologies also had to rely on higher complexity and higher volumes. So we had to rely more and more on automation, but mostly not standardized automation. It has to be more and more contextualized to the context, precisely, of either large enterprise, of a telco, or even segments in the network, because you will not have the same rules for the billing part of a company compared to the, let's say, the radio layer, etc. So you have to automate, you have to call AI, and we'll probably talk about that, but you have to customize all this kind of answer. One other very important aspect is that you have to really work on the configuration settings of the equipment. 60 or 80% of attacks are nowadays playing with the misconfigurations, because there is a lack of understanding of the settings, and that can be heavily complex indeed, because you have a lot of changes. I mean, each CSP operator today has hundreds of people working every day on config changes on the network. So it's constantly changing. So if you don't have preventive and corrective measures on the configurations permanently, you're dead.
Okay, very good. As a time, you want to add something?
As a time, I would like just to follow up what Alban said about human factor. You know, it's very difficult to deal with the human factor. currently we try to use awareness, but I think we need to go further. We created for the nuclear, avionic and transport technologies the safety culture, and I think we need to create the security culture inside companies, but for all citizens, because it takes time to change the behaviors of people. Another concept that exists right now, this is a zero trust network. This is a concept, I would like to say it's more a philosophy than a technological solution, but I believe in this philosophy because it seems to be a good way to face front a lot of attacks. So certainly I encourage the people to discover this technology, this concept, and to go further in this way.
Okay, so I will quickly summarize the arguments again, and during that, as the time already advanced, I would want each of you to think about a keyword or a phrase that you want to give to the audience as take-home. So just one aspect, in maximum one phrase. I'll just paraphrase a bit what we just said, and then we go around and just do it in the order when you're ready. So again, very, very nice points, and the key point for me was really the maturization, the professionalization of all the concerned actors, namely of the attacks. They get more professional, also with these state-based actors with unlimited funds joining the game and being able to run no matter what attack and no matter what sophistication level. On the defense side, necessarily, so the arms race is really on a more professional level now, which also makes it more challenging to defend, and at the same time makes it even more risky for those that did not invest yet, because they are not well protected yet, and then they get hit by a professionalism that they would not have had 5 years ago, and this can be disastrous as soon as they get targeted. And as we heard also with the standardization of protocols and tools that are used, this is getting more and more common, and also the automated attacks are coming there. And the third aspect behind the attackers and the defenders are the users. And as we heard, the users are the weakest part of the chain, and the cybersecurity is defined by the weakest element of the chain. So we had phishing and smishing and human factors, quick response. We had that human factor was the same before, but maybe it has more impact now. On the positive side, we had, the defense also professionalized. We have faster exchange, we have correlation of events, we have much better and professionalized procedures. We had AI-based attacks and also tools that are available for the attacks. So you can create a toolkit, use parts that are there that you didn't have some years ago. AI-based attacks and AI-based defenses also. We had the aspect of the personalized attacks, so this phishing and smishing are being really on a new level because your friend circle and so on are really involved in the process. And also these state actors, physical damages, ransomware, and of course the complexity, which is the main source for risks or errors, because our systems get more and more interconnected and more complex. And again, the weakest part of the chain, which might be a hardware or software or a user, defines the overall security. So now I'm looking forward to what your take-home is. So who wants to start?
Okay, I start. I'd say I get a hint that Arman said right a few minutes ago. Take security seriously, so do not underestimate.
Very good point. Who wants to continue?
For me, share information between all the ecosystem.
Very good.
Yeah, and it's kind of continuity based on what you just said. But you don't know what you ignore, so be aware.
Very good.
So the same, in fact, so don't be an easy target, change your behaviors on the cyber, and think about what you expose.
Perfect.
Okay. I will go again for collaboration, because we have same threats, so attackers collaborate, share information, so I think we need to collaborate.
Very good. So, big applause to all the panelists. It was a great panel, to me at least. And if you attended panels already, it's always challenging to do something in the time that is given. And in the 30 minutes that we had, it was really dense, and I'm very happy with the outcome. So take home from today on the flyer you have what we do at the chair. What we do is research. We have lots of activities where you can join us when you want to collaborate with us as a researcher, as a student, in our events, or as audience in the speaker series and so on. Just go to the website. You can subscribe so that you get an email once we put some news there. Same for the speaker series. If you have people interested in taking the PhD position openings that we have for the moment, don't hesitate to contact us. Same if you're an industrial partner or know someone who might be interested in these problematics we're looking at and the dynamics that you learned today, please share the news. Thanks a lot for coming. Enjoy the remaining 1.5 days at the ECW. Don't hesitate to approach us. We'll mostly all be present. We are also at Stand 8 at Airbus, where we'll have at 12:30 every day the interface demo. So if you want to try that out, Nicolas will be happy to put you the headset on and show it to you. Thank you very much. Have a good time, and hopefully see you soon. Super. Super. I really appreciate it because it was, as I said, it was like we didn't have much time. But all the time that we had, we really covered a great amount of topics and things and very structured way. So thanks a lot.
Thank you, Marc-Oliver.
C'est intéressant parce qu'elle est maintenant les amis ensemble.
Oui, ça donne l'occasion
de chercher la carte.
Alors, la carte qui est assez sur mon temps.
D'accord. Ah, d'accord, ok.
Je connaissais les arbres. Il y a chaque sac de
attention,
alors en fait, ils sont pas exactement dans des équipes, mais ils sont effectivement dans les équipes de cybersécurité l'équipe cyber indienne. Et effectivement, moi je
j'ai oublié, j'ai laissé ma carte dans ma veste.
Opérateur de transport pour
mais l'idée c'était de voir les gens opérationnels pour un peu leur montrer ce qu'on s'était dit. Moi j'ai dû m'accepter et au retour on a dû monter le programme. Je sais plus c'était j'ai pu appeler son fait. Vous l'aviez arrêté,
c'est pas forcément une réponse à court terme, c'est la
face à face.
Voir s'il y a des choses qu'on peut faire dans le programme ou pas.
C'est vrai que c'est pas très rare qu'il va falloir le remplacer, donc grande question.
C'est vrai.
C'est juste le point du thème à peu près.
Ah oui, c'est
au-delà du programme et puis
c'est compliqué dans ce cas-là. Moi je tourne de l'innovation, j'ai pas prévu non plus venir ici, mais Marc-Oliver n'avait pas beaucoup de ça, je suis arrivé spontané.
D'accord.
on avait d'abord du mal à voir
le projet d'angle, ça fait
en fait, on a
alors moi je suis localisé
sur la R&D collaborative. Et là, l'idée, c'est de dire qu'il y aura peut-être des actions qui seront, en gros, on va pouvoir mener. Il ne faut pas se proscrire ça. Mais le programme, c'est de fédérer une communauté autour de 3-4 enjeux qui sont importants et d'aller avec une force de frappe comme confiance. En gros, confiance, c'est 45 millions et 300 ETF. L'idée, c'est qu'on arrive à avoir quelque chose de similaire et de dire qu'est-ce qu'on apporte comme game changer collectivement.
Bon, donc c'est important, notamment le domaine de la bibliothèque. On intervient là directement sur la base
Mais
Attention, parce que si vous réexpliquez ça pour la cyber, on n'arrivera pas à dire oui.
Service de sécurité.
C'est
C'est pas la cybersécurité interne.
Le truc arrive comme ça.
La cybersécurité associée à un produit. C'est vraiment une service de cybersécurité.
Là, on est parti pour faire un truc pour. D'accord, mais ça va être sur projet ciblé avec des financements cash.
Des technologies,
On ne pourra pas faire un
de communication.
Les industriels seront jamais.
Là, on voulait partir sur un modèle de confiance.